The First Step by Leo Tolstoy. Chapter 4. In ancient times, before Christian teaching existed, every teacher of life from Socrates on held self-restraint to be the first virtue, what the Greeks called enkrateia, or self-restraint. And it was understood that every virtue must begin with it and pass through it. It was clear that a man who did not own himself, who had bred up a crowd of desires in himself and obeyed them all, could not live a good life. It was clear that before a man could think of generosity, or love, or even of plain unselfishness and justice, he first had to learn to rule himself. By our lights, none of this is needed. We are fully convinced that a man who has developed his desires to the pitch they reach in our world, a man who cannot live without satisfying the 100 unnecessary habits that rule him, can still lead a perfectly moral, good life. In our time and in our world, the effort to limit one's desires is considered not the first requirement of a good life, not even the last, but no requirement at all. According to the reigning modern teaching about life, the multiplying of needs is on the contrary something desirable, a sign of development, civilization, culture, and progress. So-called educated people regard the habits of comfort, which is to say softness, as not merely harmless but good, the mark of a certain moral elevation, almost a virtue. The more needs a man has, and the more refined those needs, the better he is thought to be. Nothing shows this more clearly than descriptive literature, above all the novels of the last century and our own. How are the heroes and heroines portrayed, the ones held up as ideals of virtue? In most cases, the men who are meant to embody something noble and elevated, from Childe Harold down to the latest heroes of Fayette, Trollope, or Maupassant, are nothing but dissolute idlers of no use to anyone for anything. And the heroines are, one way or another, the mistresses who supply those men with pleasure, just as idle and just as devoted to luxury. I am not speaking of the truly restrained, hard-working people literature occasionally shows us. I am speaking of the usual type, the ideal for the masses, the person most men and women try to resemble. I remember when I wrote novels myself, I ran into a difficulty I could not explain at the time, and struggled with it. I know now that every novelist struggles with it who has even the dimmest sense of what real moral beauty is. The difficulty was to portray a man of society as ideally good and kind, and at the same time true to life.